watching the tide roll away, just sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time.
Maritime Matters is brought to you live by Bahamas Maritime Connection.
What is maritime?
Maritime, simply put, relates to navigation or commerce on the high seas.
Some say money makes the world go round. I say ships move the money that make the world move.
Who navigates those large international ships?
How often are international ships required to be surveyed and inspected?
Maritime also protects our seas and borders by way of our local Bahamas Defense
It
Force.
is very sad to say that out of 1,500 plus ships that are registered under the Bahamian flag, only a very small amount of Bahamians are employed.
Maritime Matters.
And pleasant good evening to you, our valued listening audience. Welcome one, welcome all. Welcome to Maritime Matters. I am your host, Captain Glenn Payne. Our producer for our show tonight is none other than Mr. Sensational himself, Mr. Craig Gibson. We're coming to you live via Love and 97 FM. This is Tuesday, the first day of April 2025. And if it's a Tuesday, you know the deal. It's maritime, tick, 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 matters. We encourage that if you're driving and tuned in with us, please do so cautiously. And ensure to take your time in getting wherever it is you are trying to get safely. As the saying goes, drive to arrive alive. Our sponsors for tonight's show are 101 Pharmacy and also Island Care Pharmacy for all your medication needs. Contact my little cousin Shantia Hill McBride and her lovely team at 101 Pharmacy in Nassau and Island Care Pharmacy in Freeport. Fill your prescription at the store or send your refills via the online site 101pharmacy.com. That's 101 Pharmacy, all lowercase, all one word, .com. 3 locations, East Street South, Charles Sanders Highway, and of course, Explorers Way in downtown Freeport. We are secondly sponsored by Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited, and at BMC, we provide a full slate of ISPS maritime security services. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get cut through the chase, go straight at the meat. We want some meat. Tonight, we wish to discuss the most heated recent maritime-related issues in our dailies. We ain't getting international again today, boy, because we got so much fire going on in our own dailies. I can't even get to the international operations, right? Topics shall include the following. Again, tropical shipping Chinese-built ships. Still in the news. They got a $1 million fee every time Tropical return to the U.S. if they continue to use their ships that are all built in China. The Commander-in-Chief of the United States, Mr. Donald Trump, don't seem to give a heck how small your operation is, whether you're based in the U.S. or not. Once your ship was built in China, oh, excuse me, let me drink some water really. Once your ship is built in China, we don't care if it's, well, not we, Mr. Donald Trump, don't care if it's 1 year ago, 10 years ago, 50 years ago. If it was built in China, as far as he's concerned, he had rights to don't build it in China because you are contributing to them being so successful. And he got a trade war with them, and he didn't want them to make no more money, and whatever he could stop, he could stop. So as far as he's concerned, if your ship was built in China, you could pay $1 million every time it enters U.S. waters. Further to that, Mr. Trump is saying, if you have a ship projected to be built in China, we can start taxing you now. We ain't waiting till to finish. If you got other ships, we can charge you because that one being built in China. So what is Mr. Trump trying to achieve? by this mandate, or this, as he say, executive order that he signed. Based on what I have seen and what I can realize from the whole situation, based on my maritime expertise, experience, however you want to put it, Mr. Trump is simply pressing on with his trade war with China. His trade war means when it comes to trade, we try to hurt China. When it comes to trade, we don't want China to be making no bunch of money, because China is gaining so much popularity now. People seeing them neck and neck with us, the great U.S. From a financial perspective, they're number two. And now they look like they're trying to be number. So let me throw some ratchets in their wheels. And he did it in a couple ways. For those of us who were not following, let me bring you up to speed, because most of us know this, right? First of all, Mr. Trump is saying all goods coming from China to the U.S., which obviously means Chinese made, right? All Chinese products, made or Chinese made products coming into the U.S. will have to pay 25% duty before they even clear to get in the U.S. So whatever those Chinese products was costing, say last year this time, they now are going to cost that plus 25%. So 125%, 25% more. And what that's going to do, as far as Mr. Trump foresees or says, is it's going to give the American-made product, which is similar to that product that is coming in from China, a better chance of being sold, because the Chinese products, which are normally cheaper, will now be more expensive. So that trade is really to cause American suppliers to not want to use Chinese products, because it's going to cost them almost the same as if they use the local stuff, eh? And we know they don't make everything in America, but this is the perception. This look, you got to pay us for your stuff to come in our country, because you're making plenty money from us importing things from you. That's one way. And then the other way, he took it a bit further and he said, from a maritime perspective now, you're building plenty ships, and we ain't hardly building no ships. We want you to stop making all this money from building ships. We don't care if they come to us or don't come to us, or go to Europe, or go to Australia, or go to wherever. But we don't want you making all this money, so we can put a dent in that. And since plenty of your ships visit the U.S. or trade, bringing things in and out of the U.S., ships that were built, and mind you, you don't own them, China don't own none of them ships, you know. These are Chinese-owned ships. These are Chinese-built ships. Since your ships, the ships that you build, utilizes our port so much, we can stop them from using this. And when people know their ship, if their ship is built in China, they can't come into U.S. ports. When they realize that, then they can try to sell some of the Chinese-owned ships they have if they can operate with the U.S. Or they can stop building ships in China, because they know people like me as in the president of the U.S., people like me can cause them to have to pay extra if they come in here compared to any other ship. So this executive order was signed with no exceptions. I don't think Mr. Trump even cares whether that's going to hurt your little operation or your big operation. Bottom line, as far as he's concerned, you had rights to don't build it in China. I know that sounds mean, right? But I think Mr. Trump is a mean fellow when it comes to hard-nosed trade and stuff like that. He's a negotiator. And that is his demand as a president, and the people put him there, American people. So as far as he's concerned, I am in battle with China. And I can hurt China as much as I could when it comes to trade. And it so happened that our good friends, Tropical Shipping, decided some 20, 25 years ago that they're going to replenish their fleet of ships because Tropical make plenty money. Tropical have plenty business in the Caribbean. I was talking to a good friend of mine just yesterday, or was it the day before, about this matter. And then this person told me, well, you know, Tropical last year cleared over $15 million, or did he say 30 million? Millions of dollars in profit. And Tropical only services the Caribbean and Central America. But they got this big hub in West Palm Beach where hundreds of containers come in at a time. And they have shops set up where they can actually facilitate and store these containers and get them out to where they need to go. And they have a huge network that no other company in this region can nowhere near match it. But unfortunately, my dear listener, unfortunately, and I say good night to Anime. Anime, good night, Anime. Up there in Freeport, my 92-year-old Annie, I tell her good night. Don't worry, Anime, I can get back to you. Unfortunately, Tropical Shipping along the way, when they decided to change over their fleet of ships, I think it's about 9 or 10 ships. Could be a little less, could be a little more, right? But they made an arrangement with a shipyard in China to build them out one after the next. And so all of their ships, their current existing ships, I believe all of them, now there may be 1 or 2, but at least, 80% of them are built in China. And so it's very difficult, if not impossible, to trade out those ships with ships that were not built in China. Because these ships are not just regular cargo ships. These ships can carry plenty load, but they have flat bottom and they could go in shallow draft. Because you know the Caribbean have shallow water. Coming into our ports loaded with a bunch of containers, you can't come on the regular ship and go into most of our ports. Because if you try that, you ain't have enough room, you'll be aground. So Tropical, knowing its trade, decided to get a special built ships or special purpose built ships to be built in China. And again, building those ships in China would have been the best decision in my opinion. Not only for Tropical Shipping, for any company. Because back then to build that ship in China, because of the cost of steel in China compared to the cost of steel in the US or in Europe, and the cost of labor in China compared to the cost of labor in Europe or US or South America or anywhere, is significantly cheaper. So that ship comes out about 60% cheaper than if they had built it somewhere else. So why would you choose in an international world where you could choose any shipyard to build your ship, to build it somewhere where it's going to cost you more money? So, my dear listener, Tropical Shipping didn't make a mistake. Tropical Shipping did what was deliberately sensible and feasible to do. Nobody knew. Nobody could have dreamed. Nobody could have even think. It's unthinkable, as we say, that in today's world, an official of the U.S., whether it be the president or senator or governor or whoever it be, it could be just even one single state, decide that no Chinese-built ships coming here, or any Chinese-built ship coming here, we can charge them $1 million. Nobody could have foreseen that. So Tropical Shipping didn't make a mistake. It just so happened that the circumstances that they find themselves in, like most other ship owners, now you got some international ship owners like Maersk and MSC and Greenleaf and you know, all these big time shipping companies worldwide. They have many ships that were built in China, and they have many ships that were not built in China. So they have the privilege of juggling their ships so that whenever one of their ships got to go in the U.S., they send the one that was not built in China because they don't want to pay that $1 million. But can tropical shipping do that? No. Tropical shipping can't do that because all their ships basically built in China. And I had another friend of mine who said, as a matter of fact, she called the show last week. And she suggested that tropical shipping could simply hire on charter some non-U.S. ships to continue their trade. Some non-Chinese built ships. Now, where are you going to find not only non-Chinese built ships, but even Chinese? Where are you going to find any ship that is built for purpose? Flat bottom, could carry plenty load, and could enter all the ports it needs to enter in the Caribbean. Where are you going to find ships to match with tropical? You don't just find those kind of ships because ain't nobody build them like that. They were special built for the routes tropical shipping got to make. Excuse me again. That's what they were special built for. So you don't just charter a ship to do what they do because first of all, you ain't going to find the characteristic, a typical characteristic ship to do it. And second of all, most ships busy. They ain't got no cargo ship standing by for charter. And even if they do charter some non-Chinese made ships to continue what they do, even if they do that, what are they going to do with all those ships they have now that they're paying mortgage for? See, I want you to know when you buy ships, you got mortgage. You ain't buy that up front. That's like if you buy a hotel. You got a mortgage on that. And these companies stretch those mortgages so wide that if you have 6 ships mortgaged, you probably got it over a 60-year period to pay. Even the cruise ships they mortgage when they build them, they don't pay for them up front. The ship itself pay for itself. Tropical ships paying for themselves. But if you can't use those ships and you got mortgage on them and you got to charter another ship in place of them, then that means those ships ain't paying for their own mortgage, but you still got to pay that mortgage. So you ain't going to be making no profit because whatever profit you make, got to still pay that mortgage. Plus, you got to pay to keep your stuff going. The fuel costs ain't going nowhere. The buying the containers ain't going nowhere. The maintenance costs ain't going nowhere. The classification society or what they call it, surveys and certification, they ain't going nowhere. All those bills are still there. So we have a situation where if, and this is my view, if President Trump do not smile on tropical shipping, and he's not likely to, I can tell you. He ain't checking, I don't think he's checking per se. But for him to give tropical the leeway to say, okay, since you are a small company and you service into the Caribbean and you've been working out of one of our ports for all these years, we exempt you? No, this isn't about exempting tropical shipping. Because if they exempt tropical shipping, then China could benefit from that. Right? So as far as Mr. Trump is concerned, I am trying to cause ship owners to not use Chinese shipyards. And if I give you a blind and you had used a Chinese shipyard, I can weaken my approach. And that's my view now. I ain't telling you that's what Mr. Trump say. I ain't telling you that's what Tropical saying. I am giving you my professional view as a maritime man who kind of understands how all this fit together, right? And so we are now faced. And you see, this one taking me long, right? Again, and a half hour on this, because this is that important. We are now faced with about half of the cargo. And when I say half, it could be 40%, it could be 60%. But somewhere around 50% of the cargo that is bought into the Bahamas the cargo that is bought into the entire Eastern Caribbean, Jamaica, what the next one named there? Cayman. Well, not much, right? Cayman a little tiny, but Cayman anyhow. And then some of the Central American countries are supplied by tropical shipping. So, how are you now? And we talking about the big boys. Tropical shipping don't really deal with the little fella. Mind you, they'll take the little fella now, because I was a little fella and they used to take my stuff. And I used to like use tropical because they were so consistent. Tropical used to have a ship come to Nassau 4 times a week. I talk about big ships. That's the amount of trade they used to have with Nassau alone. Right? And that ain't changed. They still come 2-3 times a week with boxes and boxes. And when I say boxes, I talk about containers. Containerized cargo. Containers loaded. You see them coming in and out of Nassau Harbor, right? Going to Arawak Key or Arawak Port Development. And so tropical, you don't just stick a pause and have that volume of goods continuing to come into to Nassau Harbor. Because you ain't had time to plan for that. So the big question is if tropical shipping finds themselves in a position where the president does not lend any leverage for them to continue with those vessels and not pay the $1 million every time they come back or return to the U.S. If that doesn't happen, and Tropical basically have to close their doors, because I can guarantee you if that don't happen, they can't make no profit. In fact, they'll be operating at a loss. Yes, they may decide they can pass that on to all its clients, and so the cost of freight will virtually double. So, if you double the cost of freight coming in by tropical shipping, but you have other companies, like our local fellas, like the mailboat, right? Like Bahamas Ferries, like Mr. Tom Hanna's fleet, like Dane's shipping fleet, like Brother Eden's Taylor fleet. I talk about vessels that today goes in and out in Florida to bring freight. They are going to continue to be charging what Tropical used to charge. So Tropical would be twice as expensive as using them. Why would an importer be inclined to continue using Tropical shipping? If the price is going to double, but the price remain the same with the other shippers. I put it to you that this will not happen. Those other suppliers will move away from Tropical like Tropical has a plague. Yeah, they have decades of relationship doing business with Tropical. But they're not going to pay twice as much when their competitor is going to pay the same price, because their prices can put them out of business. So the bigger question, and I had to have some discussions with a good friend of mine. We had a couple discussions on this. This bigger question: can the Bahamas owned cargo ships that were all built in like Louisiana and Mississippi and the south coast of the U.S., because that's where we go to build to get all our mail boats and all our car. Well, we have some that was built in some European ports and whatnot that are not typical U.S. offshore supply vessels, right? But I don't think we have any, or at least we don't even have 10% that were built in China. So the reality is these brothers would be able to continue trading with Florida, and the price hike wouldn't touch them, because Mr. Trump says ships built in China only. Excuse me again. So if the price hike don't touch them, can they now take the load to add 50% onto what they bring in today. And my good buddy guaranteed me that that will not be a problem. That will not be a problem as far as those vessels now that trade between India and Florida that are not tropical, owned by Bahamians. They can carry, because right now they go like once a week. So if they go once a week, one in every 7 days, and a trip would probably take them a 3-day turnaround, eh? A 3-day turnaround. So that means they can now go twice a week each ship. So they already reached that 50% mark in addition to what they was reaching, right? So we now know that they all can expand, and some only going once a month, and I know 1 or 2 that's go once a month. So if they go twice a week instead of once a month, they multiply that by 800% or more than that, 16. I don't know. I mean, I know mathematician fellow, right? But all I know is that will be expanded, as they say, exponentially, right? There will be an exponential increase as to the amount of cargo that same ship could carry. And you got all your licenses. You ain't paying no extra money, you know. All you're doing is making more money because now you got more ships, more containers to bring in. You're making more trips. And every time you do a trip, that's more money you're making and more profit you're making. So the profits that Tropical was making, the $15 or $20 or $30,000 a million a year, will now be shared among our Bahamian brothers who own ships. Is that a bad thing? Because I heard on a talk show the other day, or was it a newspaper I was reading? I was reading a newspaper in our dailies, where a big-time established businessman in this country, and all of us know who he is, right? He was saying that, you know, this thing with tropical shipping may not be such a bad thing. He says it's a bad thing for them, but in every bad thing you find good opportunities coming up. And I have no ill will toward tropical shipping. But what I do know is tropical shipping is not owned by Bahamians. And what I do know is for a long time I was personally feeling and pushing for our Bahamian brothers who own ships that can go into Florida to increase their capacity. As a matter of fact, more than increasing their capacity to bring in cargo, I was always pushing for these same vessels to go into the U.S. And not only them, each mailboat, at least once a month, they will carry cargo from the U.S. directly to their mail stop. So Smith's Bay, Cat Island is where this vessel go every week. Once a month, he would go to the States and he will bring cargo for Smith's Bay directly. He can even do it once a week. But you know what happens today? The cargo comes in by tropical shipping, lands in Nassau, and then taken to the mailboat to carry to Smith's Bay. So, tropical shipping is getting half of the money from the fellow in Smith's Bay, where that could be cut on tropical shipping and gets nothing. If he have a Bahamian local ship that has the certification go in and out of Florida, go to Florida and then go directly to Cat Island, and if he don't have enough volume for Cat Island, he could go to Bennett's Harbor, Smith's Bay, Hawks Nest, Landriel Point, Port Nelson, Selena Point ain't got nothing. I know. You could go to Matthewtown, you could go to Abrams Bay, you could go to Clarencetown, you could go to well, I won't go way in the background there by Salt Pond, because I mean he mightn't be able to get in the back there, right? Only Jed know how to get in the back there. You may go to Georgetown. You could go. Let me tell you something. You could have a system set up where once per week you go into the U.S. and you're dropping off to all those islands one time, and then you go back the next week and drop off to all them islands, and then you could continue that loop, so that the family islands, knowing that you have a shipping address that they could order online and send that stuff to, and you could be bringing that straight to them, don't even have to worry about Somebody bringing stuff in Nassau, then coming to them, whether it be a food store, whatever. And they will save money. You know they know the custom officer, right? I ain't say no more than that. But I just said, that's where we should have been a long time ago. But with this tropical shipping fiasco uprising, and the high possibility that tropical shipping will no longer be able to continue business, and there will be no replacement ships immediately by no foreign entity, and these Bahamian ship owners can start to fill the gap or fill the void because they have ships that could do it. Then we will see what you call a paradigm shift in shipping between Florida and the Bahamas. And that paradigm shift, you know, Mr. Trump is going to be in for 4 years. After 4 years, will be so intertwined and so established that Bahamians will now have even larger ships because there will be a much larger demand. And our country will basically be doing what it should have been doing from years ago. And it was also pointed out to me that the Bahamas government, our government, I don't know administration, FNM or PLP or DNA or coalition, I don't know administration, the government is continuous, right? Our government brings in a lot of items by way of foreign ships from Florida. And we got all these Bahamian owned ships that are bringing them same things. And they give you all kind of lousy excuses, which to me don't make no sense. But the bottom line is, if you move tropical shipping out of the window, well, it's still got Crowley and this one and that one. But I think that will awaken our Bahamians that we could use our own. And you got big entities like, and I could call some names, you know, Super Value and JBR and FYP and Tops Lumber and City Lumber and Kelly Lumber and what are the big fellas who bring in a lot of things on tropical shipping or on ships. But realize now that why we haven't been using tropical shipping to begin with? Because we have the capacity with our local Bahamian owned ships. And that's where we need to go in this country, not only with shipping, but definitely in shipping, to address not only this matter with tropical shipping falling into a dilemma by getting their ships built in China, but also with utilizing Bahamian ships in general. And we got to speak to our Bahamian-owned shipping brothers and sisters, if you got some females involved, right? We got to be able to rise to the challenge. We have to be prepared to properly maintain our ships. We have to get them classed. Or if we don't get them classed, we certainly have to get some engineering experts to help us along the way in maintaining our ships from a preventative measure perspective. Because we have problems with that, eh? But it ain't too late. With this kind of a demand, we could fix those little problems. Okay. So we done reach halfway through our show. My goodness. I don't know. Tropical shipping, you all that important? Yes, you all are. Because if you were to fall, not that I wishing or hoping that you fall, but based on Mr. Trump, you probably will fall. Uprise our Bahamian brothers and sisters who have hardware that can fill the void. And uprise a new paradigm shift in our lovely Bahamas. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we move to our first break. And when we return, we got some other stuff going on. The opposition leader, he promised he want to move VAT from foreign yard charters and that type of thing, right? We want to talk about that. And maybe one or two other things. So, you are listening to Maritime Matters, and on this show, we talk maritime. I'm your host, Captain Glenn Bain, being ably assisted by our producer, Mr. Craig Gibson. And when we return, please, the number to call or to reach us on is 326-8255. Feel free to call at any time, 326-8255. You're listening to Maritime Matters.
At One-on-One Pharmacy, our friendly staff is ready to serve you. Visit us today for all your prescription and over-the-counter needs at our East Street South or Charles Saunders Highway locations. We're open Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and from 9 to 4 on Sundays. In a rush? Send your refill scripts online at oneononepharmacy.com or ask about our convenient pickup service. One-on-One Pharmacy, providing personal health care with people at heart. At Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited, we offer first-class maritime security services throughout the Bahamas and the wider Caribbean. As experts in maritime security, we specialize in production of ISPS assessments and plans, verification audits, certified familiarization training, and port security consultancy, just to name a few. Our services also include provision of a security force to maintain all required ISPS facility security compliance. For all your maritime security needs, visit us today in Nassau at our East Street South location or in Freeport in the Kipling Building. Call us at 392-3515 or follow us on all social media platforms. Bahamas Maritime Connection, your leader in maritime security. Let's help you make the connection.
Love 97 FM. Love 97 FM. Often imitated, never duplicated.
Sitting in the morning sun, I'll be sitting when the evening comes, watching the ships roll in, then I'll watch them roll away.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Maritime Matters. I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain, and we are moving through on tonight's show. Just covered in a long, not debate, but a long, informative way, the dilemma that tropical shipping is facing because their ships were built in China. And the U.S. President Donald Trump, has mandated in an executive order that any ship that was built in China coming into U.S. waters, whether they're returning or they've never been there before, or whatever the case may be, will have to pay an additional $1 million before they're allowed to enter that port. $1 million fee per entry, per ship. We say that effect is going to significantly impact tropical shipping in a negative way, and they may even have to close shop if they can't get that decision reversed. That's going to lead way to our long list of Bahamian-owned ships that has the capacity to go into Florida and bring those same cargo for our same local merchants here in the Bahamas that need those goods. And the paradigm shift will go on. At this point, I'd like to say hello to my number one fan. Good night, Annie Mae. Auntie May up there in Freeport, 92 years old and going strong, getting stronger all the time. You do your thing, Annie Mae. You know how we roll. You are listening to Maritime Matters. And on this show, we talk maritime. Maritime Matters is every week, weekly at 17:05. That's 5:05 p.m. every Tuesday here on Love 97 FM. The purpose of our show is to highlight persons that made significant contributions to maritime in the Bahamas and to sensitize Bahamians of opportunities in the maritime. And we got a big opportunity coming up right now, eh? Big opportunity for Bahamian ship owners. Because if they could go into Florida and take on that 50% void that's going to be left by tropical if things doesn't turn around, boy, that's opportunity piled up like dirt for a lot of Bahamians to make a lot of money and to have a lot of opportunities. We also cover current maritime issues from the domestic and international maritime field. And tonight, we're really dealing with the domestic stuff, eh? The phone number to call us on or to reach us, should you wish to get in on this discussion during the show, is 326-8255. Write it down. Remember it, 326-825. Call at any time. Call now. Hey, man, look here. We like to hear you call. If you want to hear a replay of this show or any of our previous shows, simply hit us up at any time via our YouTube page. That's Maritime Matters Bahamas. Just like how we say, I love you. Maritime Matters Bahamas. So just go to YouTube on your electronic device and type into the search box Maritime Matters Bahamas. You will see a litany of all our shows for the past 2+ years will be popping up and asking you which one you want to watch, right? And the most recent ones normally come up first. So let's talk maritime. Hello. As you know, our dailies were saying a lot of things. Not only the tropical shipping fiasco, but also it talked a bit about our VAT that's applied to our foreign yacht charters. And zooming in on that is our opposition leader, Mr. Pintard, right? Michael Pintard is saying that he promised to remove VAT from foreign yacht charters. Boy, all I can tell you is I believe Mr. Pintard was grossly misguided. And I'll tell you why. I ain't got nothing against the man. I don't know him, he don't know me. I know who he is. I know his face. He don't know who I am. He don't know my face, right? But guess what? He had to be misguided. See, I'm a maritime man. I don't think Mr. Pintard have any maritime experience. I don't think he quite understands what this foreign yacht charter is all about. Although he said on the back end, and I gotta give him his, on the back end, we gotta make money because these yacht, when they come in, they're gonna go to our food stores, they're gonna use our restaurants, they're gonna use our taxis. But guess what? So does the people in the hotels. Doesn't when you come here as a tourist and you check in at the hotel, you use taxis, you go to our restaurants, you go to our food stores if you ain't feel like eating at the hotel all the time, eh? So what are you telling me? Because when the guy come in here to live in a hotel, him and his family, isn't he going to be taxed for room tax, hotel tax, VAT? Isn't all that going to be part of the cost of his room? So why if the fellow who coming in here to live on a yacht in his room not required to pay the same type of thing? Mind you, we only charging them for VAT, we ain't saying nothing but room tax. Well, we ain't on the room on the hotel, right? We ain't on the yacht. But these yachts have rooms that are more plush and bougie than hotels. Do you know that the yacht owner, when that yacht is chartered, makes in the range of $10,000 a day? $10,000 a day paid by those who are chartering the yacht. And Mr. Leader of the opposition is suggesting to me and us and you and all of us that if he was to take the helm, he's going to cut out the 10% VAT they're going to pay. Not only making $10,000 a day, but we got to charge $1,000 for VAT. $1,000 a day for VAT. And that ain't coming out of this money, That ain't coming out the people who own these marinas' money. That's what the person who chartered the yacht got to pay. Now, if you could afford $10,000 a day, you tell me you hiding where you can't pay 10% more. But if you come to go to the hotel, you get to pay 10% more for the room. If you go to Dubai, you're paying 20% tax just for the room. I've been there and I can tell you. You go almost anywhere in the world. And for you to stay in that place, you could pay. And if you go to Europe on a yacht and you're chartering that yacht, you could pay 19, 18, 21% VAT or fees on that yacht charter. So, Mr. Leader of the Opposition, I think you were misguided, sir. I think you need to look at the total scope of what's going on here. If you're suggesting to me and us and everybody in this country that when you take over, these people are going to come here on a plush yacht, millionaires, people who got plenty of money, and cruise our land and sea park where there's nowhere else in the world they can see that kind of water in the bottom and the fish dying from old age, and don't pay for it, while the owner of that same vessel is getting $10,000 a day. No, somebody got you fool, sir. You can't let these people fool you like that, because that cannot be right. And from my perspective, as somebody who understands your charters, I did the research. I know that when they go in other parts of the world, they pay a whole heap more than 4%. Mind you, this thing started 4%. But guess what? Let me just say something else. Just to, I want to say, educate you, Mr. Leader of the Opposition. I have no quarrels with you. I think you're a good man. But just to educate you from a maritime perspective, from a Bahamas law perspective, the reason why the foreign yacht charter rules was produced was to allow yacht owners that are not owned by Bahamians, foreign yacht owners, to be able to come into the Bahamas and do a charter. Because you see, sir, let me tell you something. Before these rules were made, and you know, these rules are made under the Boat Registration Act to begin with. And the Boat Registration Act tell you that any vessel that wants to ply for hire in the Bahamas, ply for hire mean you're making money to do a trip. Any vessel must be registered under the Boat Registration Act. They say you may get registered. They say you should get registered. It says you must be registered under the Boat Registration Act. And these foreign-owned yachts cannot register under our boat registration, because to register under our boat registration, first of all, the vessel have to be owned by Bahamian, because that act protects Bahamian from having to compete with non-Bahamians to apply for hire in our own waters. So if your ship is not owned by Bahamian, you cannot register under call the Boat Registration Act to apply for hire. You may be able to register under, even under our Water Ski and Motorboat Control Act, where you're not applying for hire. I don't even think if you're not a Bahamian-owned vessel, you could register, right? Because the procedures require certain things to happen. Mind you, I'm sure about that one. I think that one may allow you, if you reside in the Bahamas, but you'll have to pay customs and collect customs for your boat first, right? Those big mega yachts, the procedure for them to come in the Bahamas and charter was designed because they are not capable. They do not have. They are not Bahamian, so their vessel cannot be registered to apply for hire in our waters. So what does that mean? That means anytime they come here talking about they doing a charter, that was illegal, and we could have locked them up. So Mr. Leon Flowers, in his infinite wisdom, and you know that's one of my mentors, back in the 70s, approached the Minister of Transport, who I think at the time was Philip Bethel, right? You know them two was tight. They're still Mr. Flowers died. God bless his soul. That's my boy, right? Mr. Phil Bethel is still around though. And they decided we need to create a law to allow these fellas to be able to come in here and do their charters, but they got to pay us a fee. for utilizing our waters and stuff to make money. Because I want you to know, Mr. Leader of the Opposition, this is about them being allowed to come in and make money. And they're making money and we can't. Well, okay, let me pull back a little bit. I agree with you, sir. We should not be charging them VAT. We shouldn't charge them VAT because they're not domestic. They're not from here. They don't belong here. They only come to do their charter and get back out. Why should we be charging them VAT? I agree. We should never charge them VAT. But what I didn't hear you say, and I'm not sure you mean don't charge them VAT, but put that 10% on the fees. The fees are 4% from the yacht rules for making it. And why do they call it foreign yacht charter rules? It's simple, because under the Boat Registration Act, it tells us that the minister may make rules from time to time to accommodate and accompany this act. So because we cannot give those foreign-owned yachts a registration under the act, a rule was made by the minister, Mr. Philip Effort, that if a yacht is foreign-owned and they want to do charters in the Bahamas, they can do so long as they pay us 4% of each charter negotiation. So if the charter costs $100,000, $4,000 supposed to go to the Port Department for that one charter. And we got hundreds of boats chartering here. So we really should be making a lot of money. And that was the time when we started to collect plenty of money because the Port Department fall on their duties. And what we need to do is we need to make the Port Department responsible again to pick up on their duties and stop doing gully wash, That's what we need to do. We need to make them responsible for collecting those fees. And I have been well advised that there is a system now, I think about to be released in July for use by the Port Department. The minister said that this system would ensure that we are collecting the boat registration fees, the yacht charter rule fees for docks and stuff all over the Bahamas. I know, but fees for buoys. We can leave that buoy alone right now because we ain't talking about buoys today, right? We ain't talking about all them buoys that contract was given to make all these millions of dollars. We talking about yacht charters coming in here and having issue with paying 10% VAT. And I think they should. And like I was saying, you don't want to pay VAT. We'll make that 14%. We'll put the 10% with that 4% and make it 14% charter fee. Because the fee wasn't raised from 1970 something. And it's now 2025 or even 2021 or 2019 or whenever they implemented that VAT. We don't want it to be VAT. Move that from being VAT and make that 15% for your charter fees. 4 plus 14%. Or we could get up to 20 like Europe did, Or the Europe charges. No, we don't want to go that high. Although we got the best charter waters in the world, in the entire world. There's no waters that a foreign yacht charter can do that can match the pristine waters of the Land and Sea Park. And I say Land and Sea Park because you got a lot of countries, You got Antigua and Barbuda, you got the Seychelles, you got, I guess, even Barbados. They one landmass, they ain't got no series and strings of keys that you could just be moving through, and everywhere you go, you're looking at the bottom, you're looking at the reef, you're looking at the fish swimming, you're looking at, boy, I'm Mr. Leader of the Opposition. I am going to ask you once, just go on a boat and go and see what that Land and Sea Park looks like. I've been there over and over again. Of course, I haven't been like the people who spend all the money and get the best of it, but I passed through in there on many occasions. And I could tell you, because I've been all over the world cruising, I could tell you that there's nowhere else in the world that can match the experience of a charter yacht going through the Land and Sea Park, of a charter yacht going through the Ragged Island chain, of a charter yacht going in the eastern Bahamas like Conception Island and Georgia. Well, let me tell you something. We don't know what we have, you know. But I digress, right? I am saying that those foreign yacht charters, the only way they could conduct charters in the Bahamas is by way of the foreign yacht charter rules that was created to provide them a platform so that they can do it. And two things they're supposed to pay for. They're supposed to pay that 4% on any contract or charter arrangement, plus anybody doing snorkeling on a charter vessel, snorkeling, diving with tanks, they're supposed to pay an additional $50 per person who are chartering. And this is the law, this is the rules that the minister made under the boat registration. Nothing but I guessing or what I just trying to. No, this is what the law is. 4% plus $50 for every scuba diving gear. Right? Not snorkeling, sorry, scuba diving. $50 per head. So if they have 20 scuba tanks, they pay $20, $50 on top of the 4%. So what I am suggesting now is instead of applying 10% VAT, because VAT calls for a lot of, the yacht got to register to pay VAT, the VAT got to go this way, it's difficult, we need VAT to be included. Just make the fee 14%. And the port department will collect that. And we need to start doing some things to ensure that they're going to come running to the port department, because they're going to know that if they were to get caught, because they can know we checking in the Land and Sea Park. We not only checking by way of the Defense Force, we also checking by way of the wardens in the Land and Sea Park, who are for the most part Defense Force personnel. We checking the marinas in Nassau Harbor, and we can know all the foreign yacht charter boats that do charters here. And if we see the boat coming out, we know you come to charter. And those who stays here and pick up local charters and make it look like it's okay, we need them to know that they're breaking the law. Because if your boat is docking at Atlantis Marina year round, and you have this nice spanking spankadocious yacht, we know that people just walk and see that and ask questions. Somebody says it costs to do a charter on this. And sometimes the people come to Atlantis or Bahama or what that one name in the back there, what have that marina, and they didn't plan to do a charter, but they come and they inquire. And on their next trip they may do a charter. But according to the charter rules, your charter need to be originated from outside of the Bahamas. But you know what these sorry sufferers do? I know, because I was told. What they do is they give these people who are inquiring the telephone contact to the agent outside of the country and say, just call this person, they'll hook it up. And they call that person and they hook it up. But that arrangement was made from within the Bahamas. But I can't get any business. Right? The law ain't say you can't do that. But I'm just saying how serious these things are. And sometimes when they do that particular charter, the person is already in the country, or they pick up the person in the country, and they don't see it as a foreign yacht charter, because as far as they're concerned, they didn't bring them people in from outside of the country. Or they didn't arrange that because the people were already here. So they just go scot-free and don't pay anything. No VAT, no 4%. We catch some of them if we start doing some serious enforcement into this area. So the reason why there is a foreign yacht charter rules is so that these big spankadocious foreign-owned yachts will have a pathway to bring their 12 guests or 10 guests, or never over 12, otherwise they could be a passenger ship, bring their guests into our beautiful waters, or allow their guests to fly in and then join their yacht in our beautiful waters and go on an explosive land and sea tour. But while you make your money, we want ours. Here's your banana. Give us our skin. We want something out the deal. We tired of getting the crumbs from the table, because according to our opposition leader, he wants us to settle for you going into the grocery store. He wants us to settle for you going into the restaurants. He wants us to settle for you going to the taxis, while you make your $10,000 a day. That's all he wants us to get out of it. I say foolishness. We want some meat too. Give us our 14% out of that. We don't have to call it VAT, or we can call it VAT. But the bottom line is, you making money, we want to make money too. We don't want you to just use us. What that song name? Boy, they got one song. This fella tell the woman, say, please use him. He just wanted to use him up. Use me up. I can't remember the song name. Boy, that's such a sweet song. But, you know, sometimes when you're in the middle of these talk shows, you can't remember hardly nothing. I only talk it. Ladies and gentlemen, the number to call us on the show is 326-8255. If you disagree with anything I'm saying, please call and let me know that the leader of the opposition, his view is good for the country. Call me and let me know that the leader of the opposition, his view is not so good. I agree with you, Captain Bain. It's not so good. Because, these people are making up the money and we ain't getting nothing. Or you can just call me and say, Captain Bain, thank you so much for informing me of this, because I really didn't know nothing but all of this. Or you can even call and tell me, Captain Bain, you're a little boring tonight, man. Let's talk about something else. Bring up something so we can talk about, since this one little boring, right? You want to go back to tropical and find out how our Bahamian boat owners can now make them big bucks? Let's talk about that. Or simply call me and say hello. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Maritime Matters. We are about to move on to our second break.
At Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited, we offer first-class maritime security services throughout the Bahamas and the wider Caribbean. As experts in maritime security, we specialize in production of ISPS assessments and plans, verification audits, certified familiarization training, and port security consultancy, just to name a few. Our services also include provision of a security force to maintain all required ISPS facility security compliance. For all your maritime security needs, visit us today in Nassau at our East Street South location or in Freeport in the Kipling Building. Call us at 392-3515 or follow us on all social media platforms. Bahamas Maritime Connection, your leader in maritime security. Let's help you make the connection. At One-on-One Pharmacy, our friendly staff is ready to serve you. Visit us today for all your prescription and over-the-counter needs at our East Street South or Charles Saunders Highway locations. We're open Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and from 9 to 4 on Sundays. In a rush? Send your refill scripts online at oneononepharmacy.com or ask about our convenient pickup service. One-on-One Pharmacy, providing personal health care with people at heart.
Sitting in the morning sun, I'll be sitting when the evening comes, watching the ships roll in, then I'll watch them roll away. Watching the tide.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Please, welcome back to Maritime Matters. I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain. We got another 20 minutes of rock and roll. Let's do this. The number to call if you want to reach us on the show is 326-8255. 255. And boy, we still waiting on the first call. Hey, what happened to my boy Herbie? Herbie, you get lost on me tonight. Eh? We waiting on the first call because we are discussing some crucial, serious stuff. We opened up the show talking about tropical shipping and their Chinese-built ships. Would tropical shipping get an opportunity by way of being waived of the mandate or the declaration signed by the President of the U.S. that any ship built in China will pay $1 million for each entry into a U.S. port? We know that they are vying and trying all they could to get a waiver, but it doesn't look good. And, we all know the kind of person our President Donald Trump is. If he getting after the juggler, he ain't letting up. Right now, I don't think he's going to ease back on any person utilizing a ship that is built in China, because he have a problem with China making that money. As far as he's concerned, he had rights to do it with China, although you didn't know he was going to do this, or anybody was going to do this. And we don't know in future, and that's the thing about it. We don't know that in future somebody comes in that has a mindset even worse than Mr. Trump and may decide any ship built anywhere other than the U.S., you're going to pay a fee to enter U.S. ports. We don't know. But let's hope everything remains the same, because this is the first time anywhere in the world, as far as I know, where a ship is being fined or has to pay a fee because they're being built in a particular country. Because the Bahamas Maritime Authority happens to be in the top 10 in the world in registering ships. We have over 1,500 ships registered to do trade worldwide. Now, what will happen to us, Bahamas Maritime Authority, if Mr. Trump decides any ship registered under the Bahamas will have to pay $1 million to enter any of our ports? Now, most of the cruise ships, Bahamas is number one with cruise ships. Most of the cruise ships are registered under the Bahamas. You know what will happen almost immediately, if not before? All the cruise ships on our flag will find another country to register under, because you can't stop them from registering under any country they want to register under. They will find another country, because as far as they're concerned, they got to go into the U.S. to get their people. The cruise starts in the U.S. That's where they do their home porting. That's where they get all their supplies. They can't. There's something like tropical shipping. It's hard to uproot yourself and go and operate from somewhere else, because you are so established, and most of your passengers are Americans. So because the Bahamas is number one in registering cruise ships in the world, no other country in the world got more cruise ships on their register than the Bahamas. We may not be the number one overall, we number 7 or 8 or something like that. But when it comes to cruise ships, the Bahamas is the numero uno. And if the U.S., even the governor of Florida, decide that, boy, we don't like these Bahamas registered ships, we don't think Bahamas do a good job monitoring the safety and environmental protection measures on the ship. I think they need to be registered with a better ship registry. So we can let them know that if they register under Bahamas, we can do more scrutiny. It can cost them more money, and it can cost us more money. So we can find, they have to pay a fee of $1 million every time they enter one of our ports, because we got to go through some extra stuff to check these ships out. Do you know that the BMA might as well close shop? Yes, we got a lot of cargo ships, but the stigma on our flag for all ships going in the U.S., because they ain't only say passenger ships, they probably say all ships registered under the Bahamas. coming into U.S. waters got to pay this fine because we got to do some further search on these ships before we even let them do trade in our country. Yeah, let's walk away from the Bahamas flag. And not only the Bahamas, if they do the same thing to Panama, and you know they haven't, you know Mr. Trump say he's going to own the Panama Canal again. So if they do the same thing with Panama, and Panama is number 1 in the world with ship registry. Panama got more than twice the amount of ships the Bahamas have. I think more than 3 times the amount under their flag. And then after them is Liberia, right? And then plenty other countries that the Bahamas used to be number 3. But if the Americans decide to tell Panama, no ship registered under Panama could come into our ports because Panama don't want to cooperate with us when it comes to the Panama Canal. Do you know the impact that will have not only on world trade, but on Panama's economy? Anyway, again, I digress. Oh, we got a call on the line. Call you on Maritime Matters. Hello.
Hello. I just want to find out, explain to me, if we have such a big port, why is it cruise ships can't leave from the Bahamas as a standard place to leave from?
Oh, we don't have such a big port, ma'am. Our port is very small. When you go to a port where cruise ship takes on their people, they have a building bigger than the ship, right next to the ship, where they get all their supplies from. They do the warehousing. They have it's like an airport terminal where when you go through, your bag go one way, you and your carry-on go the next way, because these cruise ships carry thousands of passengers. They do them like in a 6-hour window. So we don't have anything here. Yeah, but we don't have any home porting facilities here that could accommodate that. But that's the first thing.
We can implement something.
Yeah, but let's say we do that. Let's say we build on one of the, well, we ain't got no space in Prince George Wharf, so we'll have to find someplace where the ship could come now. Them cruise ships could only go to Prince George Wharf. We have no space out there to do this. But even if we, for some reason, let's say we had space and we do it, right? The passengers are usually Americans. 80% of their passengers are Americans. So they got to now pay to catch an extra flight to come from America to the Bahamas to join our ship. Plus,
yeah, but the ships usually go through the Caribbean.
Yes, but I'm talking about the American who's going to join that ship. They normally join right in America. So they don't have to pay for a trip out of America to come to the Bahamas or to go to another country just to join the ship. Right? That's the first thing. The second thing is the food supply that ship is going to need for every trip. Where you get the food from? All that will now be brought into the Bahamas, and they can pay duty on all of that. So the trip will cost that much more money because they're not in America doing home trading. Once they do it in the Bahamas.
So why can't we downsize? The other day, last year before last, they had a cruise ship leave from Nassau and go through the islands. I think Clint Watson, those went on it.
Yeah, that was during COVID. That was the I remember those two cruise ships.
So why can't we do something like that?
Well, do you know that operation was actually failing?
I don't know, because as far as I understood, or as far as I knew, it only happened once.
No. They made quite a few trips. They were on the Bimini agenda. They went to Long Island. Nahaja Black went one time. I think Clint Watson went one time. But what I'm saying to you is they were not getting the numbers. Right? Because now, if they want Americans to fly to the Bahamas to join our ship, you got to remember the cruise ships in this region. The reason why Miami, Port Canaveral, and Port Everglades are the 3 largest home porting facilities in the world is because, first of all, they want a ship to start off close to the Bahamas or the Caribbean. Second of all, most of the people are Americans, and they want them to be able to come somewhere that could, you know how much people is travel. If you got a cruise ship that could carry 3,000, 4,000 passengers, when they need an airport big enough to accommodate that. Now, well, with one cruise ship maybe, but these guys got 10 and 12 cruise ships and 14 cruise ships in their ports. So you're talking about thousands of people coming through that airport to get to that cruise ship or to have a hotel overnight. It's just the volume. for them to now relocate from Florida to the Bahamas. And the Bahamas is going to be an additional cost because now they got to get food to the Bahamas. They got to get fuel in the Bahamas. It's going to be what you call a paradigm shift, and they're going to lose a lot of money because their market is the Americans. Now, if their market was the Bahamians or the Europeans, we'd have been in.
And I've been on some cruise ship, look like only Caribbean people was on.
Well, I know what cruise ship that was. You got to tell me which one that was. I want to go on that too. Because I've been cruising all over the world, and I can tell you, Americans dominate the cruising industry as far as being passengers. And when you go on those cruises in Europe, you get more Europeans, but you still have a lot of Americans.
So why the Caribbean can't get together and do their own Caribbean cruise? A lot of Bahamians, a lot of Jamaicans have never even ventured out of their country.
Yeah, but the reason
to test the cruise from here to Jamaica, Trinidad, Bermuda, however, would be fine.
But I could tell you that the Jamaicans who...
It don't even have to be one of those big cruise ships.
Yeah, but that ain't the same experience, eh? If you're not on one of them big ships, you can feel the boat rocking sometimes. You ain't gonna have...
You feel that on the big ships too.
Yeah, but the big ships could take far more seas than the smaller ones. So it don't, in the Caribbean, it don't really bother the big ships that much. Ain't nothing got to give. It's just that you don't have...
Some planes, some cars to ride.
Well, I know we got one of our leaders saying that the Bahamas should get in the cruise ship industry. What you think about that?
I'm hoping that something happens for the Bahamas because right now we're sitting in a paradise and we're not getting the worst of it.
But you know what is happening for us? That it ain't happening for no other country in the world?
What's that?
We have the #1 cruise ship destination. Nassau Harbor gets more tourists by cruise ship than any other destination in the world outside of these three Port Everglades, Miami, and Port Canaveral, home port. Yep. And they visit, they home ports. But when it comes to visiting ports, we got more tourists than any other port in the world right here in Nassau. You don't think that's saying something?
If they're spending money.
Yeah, well, not if they spending money. You can imagine if they wasn't coming here, how much money we wouldn't be getting.
Yeah, I guess
you remember what happened during COVID and Bay Street was shut down like a zombie? You know how much families that impacted, how much people wasn't making money? Taxi drivers and shop owners and people who working in the shop. You see, a lot of people don't understand. These cruise ships are bringing these people in our lap. Right? They ain't going to pay a dime to get all of these people here. So it's up to us to be intuitive enough to find a way to make money of these people who come in here whether we want to come or not.
I guess so.
We're the lousy ones. They're bringing them to us and we can't utilize them. Imagine if this was some other country in the world like Barbados or Jamaica getting all these people. They would have find intuitive ways to cause these people to want to come off the ship to do certain things or buy certain things. But we just a lousy bunch. You know how we go. We got it too good.
But introducing the port, I mean, that's created jobs and everything, but that shut the island itself down with having all of those stores on the port.
What shut the island down?
Yeah.
What you mean to shut the island down?
Yeah, because people stay in the port.
People don't stay in the port. People pass through the port. You never been out there to see how much people coming out and going back in that port. Thousands of people come out every day and wander all over the place. Now, if you have something they want, they can find you. You know.
I don't think they leave as much from the port as people think.
Yeah, but you can't blame the port for enhancing itself to bring more people to us. What we need to do is we need to fix up on our side. So when they get on our side, they be like, boy, you got to go downtown Nassau. Or you got to go Port of Skis. Because what they got there, boy, you really want to do that. They got
How long does the ship stay in port?
Hours, like they do everywhere else in the world. They stay in port for at least 8 hours. They come in usually around 7, 8 in the morning. They leave around 5, 6 in the evening. That's almost 12 hours.
All right, thank you.
You're so welcome, honey. So thank you so much for calling. See, I ain't gonna call it a night in the show about that. You see how you saved me tonight. I'm so happy you called. Thank you so much.
You're quite welcome.
Yes, dear. Wonderful call. Yeah, and you know, that caller is questioning as to us home potting. And a lot of people have the same question in mind. So I'm so happy that that caller called and questioned that. And we did have those two ships that home ported out of Nassau during the pandemic. And I think they did okay. But you know, eventually they got bankrupt, and then them two ships had to go to Freeport, and they had an Admiralty sale, they were sold, and all the rest of that, because the whole company was going downhill. And I think that's one of the reasons why they tried to make something happen during COVID, because no other ships were doing any kind of cruise during COVID. They couldn't. Not out of the U.S. The U.S. ports were closed. That's when we had all those cruise ships anchored in the Berry Islands area, and all kind of people is making us, oh, they dropped them anchor, messing about a reef. And, you know, one thing with us, we only see things one way. When the cruise ship crowding us with the passengers and bringing in all these people, making all these head tax and making all this money ashore with the taxis and the restaurants and the casinos and all that, we ain't got no problem with that. But the minute they can't make a dime and they got to secure themselves somewhere, we have a whole heap of problem with them. Boy, you know. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Maritime Matters. And on this show, we talk maritime. Our show tonight is about to conclude. Yeah, we got 3 minutes left. If all of that, right? What we discussed tonight were very important topics. We discussed tropical shipping, Chinese-built ships, how they will be fined $1 million every time they return to the U.S. port where they have their home base in West Palm Beach. And if that fee was to be levied, and it's likely to be, Tropical wants to pass that increase on to their customers. And if that happens, in the Bahamas in particular, I don't know about other Eastern Caribbean and all that, because they may not have the ability like we do to have their locals take the slack. But if that happens, the cost to utilize tropical shipping will be increased exponentially. It'll probably be doubled. And other ships, like the smaller ones that are owned by our own Bahamian natives, their costs will not move. So tropical shipping will be twice as much as, will charge twice as much of them in order to stay alive. So in my view, the merchants would then consider, we need to move to these younger fellas. They may be a little smaller, but they could bring our stuff if they go on a routine two weekly basis. They could stack instead of going on chassis. We need to use them, because we don't need to be paying this double money, because our people who buying our stuff, they having problems. And the next fellow who competing with me, he using the local fellas, and he could charge far less than me. The only thing I can do is switch to. I think that's what's going to happen. I hope that's what happens. I don't wish Tropical no ill will, but boy, I do wish our Bahamian brothers some goodwill. And in that, ladies and gentlemen, the second thing we started to talk about was the 10% VAT on foreign charter yachts. My thing is, while the opposition leader wants to just cut it out altogether, I say, yeah, cut it out. But let's apply it now to that 4% and make it 14% fee for charter yacht utilizing our beautiful waters and making all the money they just make while they do it. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, our time is fresh out. Again, you're listening to Maritime Matters. I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain. I want to say good night to my good old Auntie May. I want to say thank you to my sponsors, Bahamas Maritime Connection, Island Care Pharmacy in Freeport, and of course, 101 Pharmacy here in Nassau. My good producer, thank you, sir, Mr. Craig Gibson, and Oh, shucks. Look at Kishno. Kishno, you in studio too? Mr. Kishno Jones, my backup producer, the one who's take charge when Craig go missing. Oh, good night, Annie Mae. Ladies and gentlemen, and I thank you, our dear listeners who follow us and who don't follow us but just listen every now and then, for listening to our show. And with that, we say Maritime Matters. Tick, 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 tick. Out.
Sitting in the morning sun, I'll be sitting when the evening comes, watching the ships roll in, then I'll watch them roll away again. Yeah. I'm sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Just sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time. I left my home in Georgia, headed for the Frisco Bay. I've had nothing to live for, look like nothing's gonna come my way. So I'm just gonna sit on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time. Look like nothing's gonna change, everything still remains the same. I can't do what 10 people tell me to do, so I guess I'll remain the same. Sitting here resting my bones in this long